The alarms didn't scream, they whispered. A low, pulsing hum slid through the metallic corridors of Vari Station Kareth. 9 like the heartbeat of something dying. Lieutenant Elias Cade was the first to notice the pattern. Not a drill. Not a malfunction. A code. Vari command override. Security lockdown. Human sectors sealed. He dropped his cup of bitter synth coffee and ran. The observation deck's viewports framed New Caledonia below, Earth's last colony. Oceans of pale blue scarred by the black dust of alien refineries. Cade had lived there once. His family still did, somewhere in the southern hemisphere, under the watch of drones that called peace by another name. He reached the security terminal. Cade, human liaison, requesting clearance. What's going on? The Vari guard, all chitin and mirrored eyes, tilted its head. Containment protocol. It rasped through its translator. Council order. Human compliance required. Compliance for what? No answer. The alien turned its rifle slightly. Not a threat, a reminder. Then the station trembled. The viewport flashed white. Cade's breath froze as a blinding column of plasma fell from orbit, punching through the clouds toward the colony below. 1 beam. 2. 3. He stared in disbelief. No, they wouldn't. The Vari guard's mandibles clicked. Purge of contaminated sectors. Efficient. Necessary. Cade lunged. The rifle went off, searing his shoulder. He slammed the alien against the bulkhead, ripped the weapon free, and fired until the thing stopped twitching. Smoke filled the corridor, tasting of ozone and burnt resin. His comm crackled. All human personnel are to remain in containment, said the voice of Commander Sithravel, smooth, calm, venomous. This is not an act of war. It is correction. Cade pressed a trembling hand to his wound, eyes locked on the planet below. Fires bloomed like new stars on the surface. Millions gone, incinerated in seconds. Correction. He forced himself to move. Pain meant nothing now. He reached the human security quarters, silent. The walls were slick with blood. Sergeant Halvorson lay by the doorway, eyes open, throat burned through by plasma fire. Her hand still clutched her sidearm. Cade pried it loose, checked the magazine. Half full. He whispered, I told you they'd do this. In the mess hall, a small group of human engineers huddled in shock. One of them, a young tech named Mira, ran up to him. Cade, the comm lines are cut. They're saying New Caledonia's gone. He nodded. I saw it. What do we do? Cade looked at the weapon in his hand, then at the Vari banners draped over the walls, symbols of unity and order, now drenched in human blood. He holstered the gun, voice steady but hollow. We survived long enough to make them regret it. The emergency lights dimmed as if the station itself were holding its breath. Through the ventilation ducts came faint sounds, screams, gunfire, then silence. The Vari were cleaning up. Every human crew member, every diplomat, every civilian technician, erased like they were data to be overwritten. Cade led the survivors through maintenance shafts toward docking bay 6. Keep quiet, he whispered. Their sensors read thermal first. Stay low. Mira crawled behind him. Why do this now? We were allies. Allies. Cade spat the word. We were leverage. Humanity's a reminder of something they can't understand. Defiance. They tried to make us compliant. We never learned how. They reached a junction overlooking the docking bay. Below, rows of human prisoners knelt before a firing line of Vari soldiers. Commander Sithravel stood in front of them, tall, armored, wings folded tight. Her voice carried through the chamber, amplified and cold. The human contagion ends here. You were given integration. You repaid it with rebellion. Learn this. Mercy is inefficient. Cade steadied his rifle, anger sharp and focused. He could end her. One shot. One spark. Mira gripped his arm. You'll get us all killed. He looked down at the prisoners, faces terrified, waiting for death. The rifle wavered. He thought of his sister, who'd sent her last message from the colony. We're rebuilding, Eli. It's hard, but we're still human. He exhaled. No, he whispered. They'll get me killed. But not before they see what humans do when the lights go out. He aimed, not at the commander, but at the base fuel line. One pull of the trigger. The plasma bolt hit the pressurized conduit. Fire tore across the deck. The explosion ripped through the bay, hurling Vari soldiers into the air. The shock wave shattered the observation glass. Alarm screamed this time, angry alive. Cade dragged Mira and the others back through the corridor as decompression tore at the walls. Behind them, the Vari station burned, its order unraveling. Later, deep in the maintenance tunnels, Cade crouched by the emergency console. His arm throbbed, his uniform soaked with blood. He forced the terminal online. Static filled the screen before stabilizing. A human distress beacon flickered to life. To any survivors of New Caledonia or Careth 9, Cade said, voice hoarse but steady. This is Lieutenant Elias Cade of the Terran Security Corps. The Vari have begun extermination protocols. They think humanity's finished. They're wrong. He paused, eyes burning with exhaustion and fury. We don't die quietly. We never did. Remember that. He sent the transmission across every frequency he could reach, even the ones the Vari monitored. Let them hear it. Let them know the spark was lit. Outside, the burning station drifted over the scarred world. From its ruptured hull, debris fell through the atmosphere like ash. The colony's last night was over, and somewhere amid that ash, humanity began to wake. The ruins of Station Careth 9 drifted across the void like ash on water. Lieutenant Elias Cade stared through the cracked viewport of their makeshift shelter, a shattered cargo bay barely holding pressure. Every breath tasted of metal and smoke. 3 days since the purge. 3 days since New Caledonia vanished beneath plasma fire. The survivors huddled around a single emergency lamp. 12 humans left, engineers, medics, and technicians. Exhaustion etched their faces, but their eyes still carried something the Vari had failed to burn. Mira adjusted the transmitter beside him. Signals weak, but I caught fragments. Other outposts, some escaped before the bombardment. Cade's hand tightened over his bandaged arm. How many? Maybe a few hundred across the sector. He nodded slowly. Then we're not dead yet. A faint buzz crackled through the speakers. A man's voice broke through the static. This is Captain Reese of the Lancer. Humanity lives. If you can hear this, respond. Mira looked at Cade. That's the 5th one today. They're out there. Cade exhaled. Then we give them something to rally behind. In the following hours, the humans turned their despair into a forge. They stripped Vari panels, rewired conduits, welded barricades from alien armor. Every motion was deliberate. Nobody spoke of loss. Words were luxuries. Cade limped from one group to another, overseeing modifications. Don't waste energy on lights. Feed it to life support. Keep the vents sealed. Vari sensors read heat first. One of the engineers, Lien, frowned. Sir, even if we hold out, they'll find us. They'll try, Cade replied. But they expect fear, not ingenuity. That's our advantage. Mira approached with a data pad. I scavenged a repair drone. Core's intact. Could convert it into a guided charge. Cade studied the small spherical device. Payload capacity? Minimal, unless we wire it to the reactor's backup cells. That'll vaporize half a ship, he said. Perfect. She hesitated. You're serious about striking back? Dead serious. They spent the next day preparing. The drone became a weapon, a crude bomb disguised as maintenance equipment. They mounted it beneath a derelict shuttle, patched the hull with scavenged plating, and disguised the reactor overload sequence as a routine diagnostic cycle. Mira sat across from Cade while he adjusted the detonator on his wrist. You know this is suicide. Cade met her eyes. Everything's suicide if we do nothing. You're still thinking like a soldier. He shook his head. No, I'm thinking like a human who's tired of dying quietly. She didn't argue. The silence between them said enough. The launch came without ceremony. The shuttle drifted into the debris field, disguised by the wreckage of its dead station. Vari patrols passed overhead, black, insectoid frigates casting shadows across the stars. Power down, Cade murmured. Let inertia carry us. Mira cut the thrusters. The vessel drifted silent, its systems barely humming. Every few seconds, sensor beams sliced through the darkness. One passed over their hull. Cade froze. The drone lingered, scanned, and moved on. Mira exhaled softly. They didn't see us. They weren't looking for survivors, Cade said. They're too arrogant for that. Hours crawled by. At last, the flagship appeared, a vast, obsidian spear stretching across the void. The Ascendant, the heart of the Vari Dominion's command in this sector. Somewhere inside, Commander Sithravel planned her next purge. Cade stared at the monstrous vessel. Time to send our regards. He keyed the comm, docking request. Maintenance Shuttle K-79. Repair team inbound. Static. Then a curt alien reply. Transmit clearance. Mira whispered, We don't have any codes. Cade smiled faintly. We've got their arrogance. That'll do. He uploaded a scrambled sequence, copied from a Vari terminal. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then, code received. Proceed to Base 7. Mira blinked. They actually bought it. Cade adjusted course. Never underestimate the comfort of superiority. They slipped into the docking corridor, guided by faint lights. Through the viewport, Cade saw rows of alien soldiers marching in formation. Their precision made him sick. Mira whispered, Ready drone for release. He pressed the command key. A soft click echoed as the bomb detached, gliding silently beneath the docking frame. Target locked, she said. Cade's voice dropped to a low growl. For New Caledonia. He triggered the detonator. The flash consumed the darkness. The explosion erupted beneath the Ascendant, tearing through its spine. Fire poured from its hull like liquid sun. Shockwaves rippled through the surrounding fleet. Cade's shuttle spun violently. Warnings screamed across the console. Stabilizers gone, brace. Metal groaned. Panels blew free. Mira clung to the controls, eyes wide. Engines failing. Ride out. Cade shouted. The shuttle tumbled through the debris storm, battered but intact. Outside, the Vari flagship split in half, its atmosphere venting in glowing trails. Mira laughed breathlessly, half hysteria, half triumph. We did it. We actually did it. Cade stared at the burning wreck. His voice was quiet. That was one ship, but it's enough to remind them we're still here. Hours later, the survivors regrouped in their hidden base. Static still hummed through the comms. Panic Vari broadcasts. Unidentified human vessel. Contact lost. Damage catastrophic. Commander Sithravel injured. Initiate retaliation. Mira replayed the fragment with grim satisfaction. You heard her. She'll come for us now. Cade said. Good. Fear changes strategy. Panic makes mistakes. He stood by the viewport, watching the Ascendant's ruins drift against the stars. They'll tighten their grip, but the tighter it gets, the more we'll make them bleed. Mira studied him. You're turning this into a war. He turned to her. It already is one. We just stopped pretending otherwise. Across the system, human distress beacons echoed his transmission. Fragments of voices, pilots, miners, soldiers, heard the news and spread it. The story grew faster than light. A single human strike crippling a Dominion flagship. For the first time since the Purge, the galaxy whispered a name they had tried to bury. Humanity. And in the fractured silence of space, Cade made a quiet promise. They wanted obedience. They'll get retribution. He looked at Mira. Prep another ship. We start hunting tomorrow. She smiled, tired, resolute. Then let's make them afraid of the dark. Far above, in the crippled command deck of the Ascendant, Commander Sithravel watched her wounded fleet through fractured glass. Smoke coiled from her armor. Her right wing was gone. Find the human, she hissed. Bring me his heart. A faint beacon pulsed on her screen. Cade's voice repeating across every frequency. You tried to erase us. All you did was light the match. The transmission looped endlessly, carried by the dying signal of her ship. The explosion of the Ascendant had done more than destroy a ship. It had shattered the illusion of Vari invincibility. For the first time in centuries, an empire built on control had tasted chaos. From the ruins of Kareth, 9, whispers spread through the stars. The humans struck back. Every outpost, every mining ring, every hidden colony heard the same message carried by Elias Cade's beacon. We are not broken. Across the dark, scattered survivors began to move. In the gutted hangar that served as their new base, Cade watched the holographic display flicker to life. Red icons marked Vari patrols surrounding the region. Blue signals, tiny, blinking, human, were growing in number. 43 confirmed ships, Mira said. Half are patched freighters, the rest barely flyable. But they're answering your call. Cade's voice was quiet. That's 43 more than yesterday. She studied him, tired but proud. You've turned survivors into soldiers. He shook his head. No, I reminded them what they already were. The room darkened as the projection shifted to a planetary map, Vari supply depots, weapon caches, orbital defenses. This is our next target, he said. Outpost Jorvan. They refuel the Dominion fleet. Take it down, and their warships go blind. Mira frowned. That's suicide. So was everything else we've done, Cade replied. It's becoming a habit. Their ragtag fleet moved like ghosts through the black. They called themselves the Ash Vanguard, miners, traders, scavengers turned soldiers. No uniforms, no ranks, only purpose. Cade stood on the bridge of the commandeered Vari transport Horizon's Fall, staring into the abyss ahead. Once we breach the perimeter, no turning back, he said. From the comms, Captain Reese of the Lancer replied, We're long past turning back. The strike began at dawn cycle. Human ships emerged from the debris field like sharks, engines muted, signatures masked. Vari sensors picked up the attack too late. The first salvo hit their defense grid, tearing it apart in seconds. Alarms blared across Jorvan's surface as human drop pods slammed into its foundries. Cade led the first wave. He hit the ground running, rifle drawn, smoke curling from a scorched earth. The Vari garrison scrambled in confusion. No formations, no strategy, just panic. They had expected slaves, not predators. Mira landed beside him, firing into a control tower. They're retreating toward the tunnels. Let them, Cade said, reloading. We'll seal them in. They advanced through the refinery, methodical and ruthless. Every explosion was precise. Every bullet counted. Humanity's strength wasn't in numbers. It was in intent. A Vari officer emerged from the smoke, translator crackling. You are insects. This defiance delays nothing. Cade stepped closer, rifle steady. Then consider it a delay you'll remember. He fired once. The alien collapsed. By night cycle, the outpost burned. Cade climbed the communications tower, flames lighting the horizon below. Mira joined him, wiping soot from her face. Transmission channels are open, she said. You're live on every Dominion frequency. Cade took the mic. His voice carried across the stars. This is Lieutenant Elias Cade of the Terran Security Corps. To every human hiding in the dark, rise. To the Vari who think order is strength, look at your skies. That's what your order burns like. He paused, letting the silence stretch. You called us a contagion. You were right, and we're spreading. He cut the feed. Mira stared at him. That message will make us their highest priority. He looked out at the inferno below. Good. Let them focus on me. It'll give the others time. The counterstrike came faster than expected. 2 Vari warships dropped out of warp above Jorvan, their cannons glowing blue. The human fleet scrambled to evacuate. Cade and Mira ran toward their shuttle, the ground trembling beneath bombardment. Engines live, she shouted. The shuttle lifted off, just as a plasma beam ripped through the tower behind them. Debris rained down in molten sheets. Reese, status. Cade called. The comm crackled. Lancers hit but holding. We can't outrun them. Then we don't. Cade opened a comm link to all ships. Every vessel, reverse vector. Hit their drives. Focus fire on the lead ship's engines. There was hesitation, a collective breath, then a chorus of affirmations. The humans turned. The battle was short, violent, and without hesitation. Old cargo haulers rammed cruisers. Salvage drones detonated against shield arrays. The void burned white with defiance. From the horizon's fall, Cade launched the last missile, one they'd salvaged from the ruins of the Ascendant. It struck true. The lead warship split in half, its reactor flaring into a dying sun. The second ship broke formation, retreating into the void. Mira slumped in her seat. We actually survived that. Cade looked at the wreckage drifting outside. No, we endured it. Survival comes next. Hours later, aboard the Lancer, Cade met the remaining captains. They sat in a dim war room, bruised, burned, but alive. Reese poured a shot of synthetic whiskey, handing one to Cade. To the first Dominion fleet that ever ran from humans. Cade raised his glass. To the next one that won't have the chance. They drank in silence, the hum of damaged engines filling the air. Mira entered, holding a datapad. We intercepted Dominion chatter. Cithravel's not dead. She's rebuilding the fleet on their capital moon, Niveth Prime. Reese cursed. So the spider still spins. Cade's jaw tightened. Then we burn the web. Mira hesitated. That's suicide, Eli. You can't fight an empire with ghosts. He looked at her with cold certainty. We already are. And the ghosts are winning. Across the galaxy, Dominion systems faltered. Supply lines collapsed. Colonies revolted. Patrols vanished. Each act of rebellion traced back to one name whispered across comms and screens. Cade. In the ruins of Jorvan, a Vari survivor crawled from the ash, whispering through broken mandibles. They fight like predators, like extinction itself. And in the dark beyond the stars, humanity's flame burned higher, fed by rage, sharpened by loss, unstoppable now that it had remembered what it was capable of. The inferno had begun. The stars over Niveth Prime looked like dying embers. The Vari capital moon, once the heart of the Dominion's control, now glowed beneath the smoke of its own fleet. The war had come home. Elias Cade stood on the bridge of the horizon's fall, watching the planet-sized fortress through the viewport. Its orbital rings shimmered with shield light, layer upon layer of defense. Beneath it, the surface crawled with towers of obsidian metal, the beating heart of alien arrogance. Mira approached quietly. Scans show 3 shield generators. If we take down one, we can breach their command citadel. Cade nodded. We go for the throat. No more warnings. She looked at him, eyes hollow from months of fire. You know what happens if we fail. He gave a small, grim smile. Then humanity fades loud enough for the universe to remember the sound. The assault began with silence. The Ash Vanguard emerged from the black, cloaked in the electromagnetic storm, surrounding Niveth Prime. Old engines whispered across the void. No grand speeches. No banners. Just resolve. As they broke through the outer defense line, the Vari guns awoke. Plasma fire illuminated the darkness. The Lancer took a hit to its bow, engine stuttering, but Reese's voice came over comm steady and sharp. We're still flying, boss. Keep it that way, Cade replied. Mira, charge the disruptor array. Array charged. Fire. The blast tore through the nearest orbital ring, cutting power to one of the shield nodes. Cracks of blue lightning ran through the barrier, like veins splitting under pressure. First generator down, Mira said. Then we move, Cade ordered. The human fleet dove through the breach, battered but relentless. They hit the surface like meteors. Cade's drop pod slammed into the Citadel courtyard. He emerged with rifle drawn, armor scorched, boots crunching over broken alien glass. Vari soldiers rushed to meet him, sleek forms with curved armor and energy blades. The firefight was fast and brutal. Humans advanced in tight formations, disciplined and efficient. Every shot found a mark. Every step forward was paid in blood. Cade's voice cut through the chaos. Push to the spire. The commander's there. Mira covered his flank, cutting down a Vari sniper. You think she'll stay and fight? She'll want to see what broke her empire. They pressed on through corridors lined with statues of alien leaders, monuments to centuries of dominance, now cracked and burning. Inside the command chamber, Commander Cithravel waited. Her once gleaming carapace was scorched, one of her lower limbs replaced by a crude cybernetic. Behind her, holographic projections of collapsing Dominion sectors flickered weakly. So, she said, her voice low and metallic, the human ghost arrives. Cade lowered his rifle. You wanted our extinction. You earned this instead. She studied him, eyes narrowing. You should have died on Kareth 9. You were meant to. I did, he said quietly. The rest of me stayed to finish what you started. Her mandibles twitched, a Vari gesture of contempt. You think victory justifies what you've done? You've turned the galaxy into ash. Cade stepped closer. You burned it first. We just learned to match the heat. She raised her weapon, a long spear humming with energy. Then come prove your evolution. The duel was fast, merciless. Her spear struck with blinding precision, slicing sparks across Cade's armor. He dodged, parried, countered with short, efficient strikes. Every blow carried years of loss, every breath a memory of those the Vari had silenced. You fight like a cornered beast, she hissed. Cade blocked another swing, twisting her weapon aside. No, he said, like a species that remembers. He slammed his rifle but into her chest, sending her sprawling. She tried to rise, but his blade was already at her throat. Sithra's eyes met his. Kill me, and you become what you hate. Cade hesitated only long enough to say, we became what we needed to survive. Then he pulled the trigger. The sound echoed through the chamber like thunder. Silence followed. The Dominion's command codes flickered across the console. Mira entered, breathing hard, gun raised, but stopped when she saw the body. It's done, she said softly. Cade didn't look away from the alien corpse. No, he murmured. It's beginning. He activated the console. Streams of data filled the air, fleet coordinates, control signals, encryption keys. He transmitted them to every human ship, every rebelling colony. Across the stars, Dominion fleets shut down. Automated factories fell silent. Slave control nodes went dark. Human voices began to flood the comm channels. Cheers, sobs, disbelief. Mira watched the data cascade. We actually did it. They're collapsing. Cade finally turned, his expression unreadable. Empires fall easy. Staying human after is the real fight. Outside, Niveth Prime burned. The Ash Vanguard ships hovered above the dying capital, engines reflecting the fire below. Reese's voice came over comms, rough but triumphant. You did it, Cade. The Dominion's done. What now? Cade stood at the viewport, watching the towers crumble. Now we rebuild what they feared most, our unity. Mira joined him. And if another empire rises? He gave a small, tired smile. Then we remind them too. Weeks later, the galaxy shifted. The Dominion was gone, but the legend of humanity grew. The ashes of war birthed a new creed. No species rules forever. A transmission spread from the remains of Niveth Prime, carried on every frequency. Cade's voice steady, human, unflinching. To those who look down on us, look again. We are the fire that does not die, the memory that does not fade. You taught us fear. We returned the lesson. Do not mistake our silence for submission ever again. The message ended, looping endlessly across the void. Mira listened from the bridge of the horizon's fall, eyes distant. What will you do now? She asked. Cade watched the stars slowly return to peace. Guard them, he said simply. Because someone has to. He stepped away from the console, the hum of the engines echoing softly. The war was over, but its echo would shape the centuries to come. Humanity, once the hunted, now stood as the warning carved into every empire's memory. When aliens spoke of Earth after that day, they didn't call it a world. They called it a lesson. Do not provoke the species that learned to survive its own extinction. And in the cold dark between stars, the words of Elias Cade lived on, part vengeance, part promise. We are humanity. Remember that before you forget mercy.